This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 18 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, presented by Equestrian Life, exclusive coverage of the world of dressage. We would like to thank our sponsors, Equestrian Life. They can be found at equestrianlife.com, and Kentucky Performance Products. They can be found online at kppusa.com. This is Chris Stafford in Lexington, Kentucky.
And I'm Heather Blitz in Esbjerg, Denmark, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show presented by Equestrian Life.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Chris. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just great, thank you. Yeah, it's wonderful fall season over here in Kentucky, and we're loving it. You know, temperatures are perfect, good riding weather.
Well, that's always a plus. I think we have pretty much the same thing here. Just can't get enough of how nice it is out these days.
Well, we've got a pretty good show lined up this week. I know you were on tour when we had Edward Gall on the show, but we've got the second best on the show today. That's going to be Adelinde Cornellisen. You know, she was silver medalist at the European Championship, so she's going to be joining us today to talk about her career and her rise to the top of the leaderboard these days with that wonderful partner of hers, Parsifal. So really looking forward to talking to her, Heather.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I can't wait to hear from her today. I think that's going to be just super. I don't know anything about her yet, and I'm sure she'll fill us all in. So looking forward to that. It's
a wonderful story, apparently. So very much looking forward to that, and it's just great to see these emerging stars in the sport. So that'll be really exciting. And I know you have one too over there, don't you? And we should mention to our listeners that you have some breaking news too, don't you?
Well, I do. I've recently decided that I am going to move back to the United States and be starting with the I'll start with, and then go after that. I'm not sure yet, but I'm really excited about that so far. That at least I've made the decision to leave Denmark after 3 years here and start up again in the U.S. So I'm very excited.
Well, that'll be very exciting. We'll be watching your career with interest, of course. But for now, we've got some items of news to get to here on the show, Heather. And one very interesting news story that's come out of Europe, something called the European Equestrian Forum. I just heard about this last week. Apparently, it's a brand new forum of 40 European countries that have decided to merge into this group, and the goal of the organisation is to support a bigger European influence in the global equestrian sport. And that decision was made at a meeting in Antwerp, Belgium, where those groups got together, divided into two groups by the FEI, and agreed upon this fusion between the European Equestrian Forum, the Danish Equestrian Federation. President called it an historic moment. It'll be very interesting to see what they do, Heather, and I had not heard anything at all about this until I read this article.
Well, I can't say that I have either. I haven't really had my ear to the ground about that, so I'm going to be interested to see what it has to do with and what they plan on doing, which I'm sure they're sort of at the beginning of this formation, so we all will be waiting to see what they do with it.
Very interesting, and we will keep you posted here on the Dressage Radio Show, of course. And another item of breaking news comes out of Europe. A British-based but Finnish rider, Kira Kirkland, she's actually retiring her longtime partner, Max. Wonderful, wonderful partnership they've had. I think they'd got 33. They'd got on the leaderboard on the rankings 33 times out of 35 outings, which is pretty impressive, isn't it? For an international career, Heather.
Yeah, pretty impressive, pretty rare. Yeah, I have to say.
Yeah, so we wish him well. He's going to enjoy a happy retirement. Kira was keen to point out that she's going to continue riding him at home. He's just turned 14, a Swedish warm-blood gelding who belongs to Yvette Kahn, and they're going to give him a very peaceful retirement. But she's going to carry on riding him. She'll do demonstrations and that kind of thing. So good luck Max in his retirement. What a wonderful servant he has been to the sport. And I'm sure Kira will be back with another prospect. She said she's got a few back in the barn there, so she's not going to be retiring anytime soon.
Well, I just am really proud of them for making that decision. I mean, he has been out there for a strong Grand Prix career, and he's done just fantastic. And, you know, what a nice thing to do for him that he's not retiring because he has to, but because he can, and they're doing that for his life to be a little easier. And it's such a strenuous thing for them to be on that kind of a tour. So I just think it's great that they've done that in his best interest. He's still a very happy horse, and he has another sort of career ahead of him. And I'm really happy for him and both Kira and his owner too. So I think it's super.
Wonderful to conclude a career on a good note, and as Kira said, she likes happy endings. So, and as you say, you know, when a horse has been such a good servant for so long, you know, very often, you know, we wait until really is the end of their career and retire them. But like this, as you say, he's got many good years left in him.
Yeah, so he didn't have to retire, but he gets to, and so that's. I'm just really proud of them for making that decision.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So that's our news for this episode, but don't go away. We're going to hear from our sponsor, but up next we're going to listen to an interview with Adelinde Cornellisen.
It is fantastic to have our friends at Equestrian Life as the title sponsors for the Dressage radio show. If you have not been to Equestrian Life yet, you need to go. In addition to being the official social community for the Horse Radio Network, it is one of the fastest growing horse communities on the internet. It is truly the Facebook for horse people. The goal of EquestrianLife.com is to bring equestrians together and to provide them with the breadth and depth of information and tools they need to learn and connect with other horse lovers who share the same passion. EquestrianLife.com is a fun, inviting website that strives to provide its members with a world-class experience that fosters the expression of all the ways people enjoy their horses and the people who are part of the horse world. EquestrianLife.com's social media platform provides users with cutting-edge applications and tools, such as people and horse profiles, social Q&A, status updates, messaging, photo uploading, groups, comments, blogs, expert high-definition videos, directories, birthday reminders, alerts, messaging, and on and on and on, in addition to their partnership with the Horse Radio Network. This community is designed by horse people for horse people and is filled with educational and entertaining video and audio all about our horses. Right on over to Equestrian Life today. Sign up for free and tell all of your friends. If you love horses, EquestrianLife.com is the place to be.
Well, thanks to our sponsor, and we're really looking forward to our guest this week, Adelinde Cornellisen from the Netherlands. She partners that wonderful horse, Parzival, and who was tremendously successful at the European Championships. Those of you who have been following the sport closely will know that she was second in the Grand Prix at the European Championships in Windsor, England last month with Parzival on a score of 80.638. And the following day she went on to win the Grand Prix Special on a score of 80.042. Again, wonderful scores in the 80s there, but she went even better for the Kerr, and on the day that she finished reserve champion to and a silver medalist to Edward, she actually scored 87.35. So absolutely amazing scores there. Just got better and better, and we're really excited to be welcoming Adelinde onto the show to hear about her partnership and her career with Parzival. Well, Adelinde, welcome to the Dressage Radio Show, and thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
It's great to hear from you now. You're at home in the Netherlands, right?
That's right, yeah.
And we've got Heather, of course, in Denmark. So it's a three-way conversation here across pan the world. It's amazing what we can do with technology.
We're so excited to have you on the call.
All right. Thank you.
Adelinde, the first thing we have to do is congratulate you on your amazing success at the European Championships. What a wonderful, wonderful story.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I was really pleased with it, of course, and, well, I didn't expect it, but, yeah, it's always good.
Well, the pretty impressive scores that just seem to get better and better. You started off second in the team Grand Prix event, and then you won the Grand Prix special, and then you just rocketed to the silver medal position in the Kerr with that wonderful score over 87, which that has to be a personal best for you, right?
Definitely. My freestyle, I think my former personal best was like 5% lower, so yeah, 5% higher score is enormous. It's good, yeah.
So this is something, of course, Heather, you all dressage riders aspire to. So when you see that kind of score, you think, okay, that's my target?
Well, yeah, I think most of us are thinking that that's sort of just a dream score to go for. But I mean, she's proving us wrong if it's possible. But you got to be a super rider like you and have a super horse like yours. And what else has it taken for you to get to that point, Adelinde?
Oh, well, just like some really hard work. That's about it, I guess. Just training every day and give your best shot. And that's all I could do.
Well, let's go back a little bit to introduce you to our audience here, Adelinde. How did you start riding in the first place, and what persuaded you to specialize in dressage?
Actually, I started riding, at the age of, 4, I think. My mom and dad have this little piece of land. They don't have anything with horses, but they actually rented some Shetland ponies. And I, of course, liked them, and that was only during winter time, and I liked them, and after winter time, they had to go back. And then, I insisted on having my own pony. And then my parents figured, that could be okay, but then first start riding at a riding school for a year. So I had to prove I really, really liked it. And then after this year, I got my own pony. And that's actually how it started out. And then in the beginning, I did like everything, dressage, jumping, 3-day eventing, everything I did. And then only up till Parzival, I started riding dressage because Parzival was, let's say not the easiest in the beginning. And I had not even controlling dressage, so not even thinking about jumping then. So, yeah, and then it went really, really good. And then I didn't switch to jumping anymore.
So where did you grow up in the Netherlands, Adelinde?
I live up in the north, in Bijlen, it's called. It's a little village. It's in the north of Holland.
And so was horses in the family? Was this something that other members of your family did, so you thought you would give it a go?
Nope. Not my mom, not my dad. They don't have anything with horses. They just have this little house and with a little, let's say it's sort of a big garden. And then just like this little piece of grass, and we just had a pony on it.
So while you were growing up, you obviously going through school. What kind of things were you doing? You were doing eventing. You were doing jumping. You said had to go at everything. Yeah,
I liked it all actually, and I still do. But the only thing is, Parzival doesn't jump, so that's why I didn't do it.
So, Adelinde, do you make your living with the horses, or do you have another job and you do this aside from that, or are you a professional in teaching and training other horses and that sort of thing too?
Yeah, actually, since last year, March, I do this professionally. Before that, I used to be a teacher at school. And last year, March, I came into the Olympic squad, and then, at school, so then I had to choose, which was not really hard though.
So I understand you spent some time in Canada, which was why your English is flawless, Adelinde.
Sorry again.
Can you hear me okay?
Sometimes falling out.
Adelinde, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
That's better. I just had a bit of problem there hearing you too.
Me too.
Let's see if it will pass. We'll try again. The question was that your English is flawless. I understood you spent some time in Canada.
That's right. Yeah, I actually, after my high school, I didn't know what I wanted to study, and then I went to Canada for a year, and that's actually where I learned my English.
So were you riding when you were in Canada?
Yeah, because, well, before I went to Canada, I did 1 year of university. I studied English. I don't know why. It's just I figured it was a kind of handy language to be able to speak. But then at university here, I didn't get to learn to speak English. But then the only thing we did was have lectures for like 3 hours, how to pronounce a vowel and how to move your tongue to pronounce that vowel correctly. So I figured it was kind of boring. And then after this 1 year of university, I got the opportunity to go to Canada and work on a barn there with horses. And I figured, well, that's like the perfect combination, working with horses and learning my English. So,
perfect. So where exactly were you in Canada?
In Woodstock, near Toronto, Ontario.
Oh, okay. So was that then just dressage you were focusing on during that time?
No, it was actually a little bit of both. A little bit more dressage than jumping, but I didn't do any jumping shows, but I had to ride. Actually, what they did was buy horses here in Holland and then import them into Canada, and then I had to train them, and then most of them were sold to America. So I did dressage as well as jumping there.
And so when you got back to the Netherlands, you got home, and tell us the story from there. How did you first of all find Parsifal? What's his story?
Oh, well, that's a different story. I came back from Canada, and then the owner of Parsifal, Henk Koers, he actually came up to me and he said, well, I have this horse and there's some buyers, and this weekend or like coming weekend, they will kind of come and, well, he had nobody to show him off, to ride him and for those buyers. So nobody wanted to ride him, but I didn't know that. I didn't know how hard he was to ride because I just came back from Canada. I hadn't heard all the stories about him. So, and then he asked me to ride him. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So, but then they were coming, I don't know, on Saturday, I think, and then I said, well, I want to ride him the day before because I want to know what he can do and what I can show with him, right? So then I got on. Well, first of all, getting on was a little bit of a problem because he was kind of spooky, and, well, once I got on, I had to stay on because he was just flying from one corner to the next, and then he spooked from something, turned around and ran the other way, and then spook again, run back again, and then that was about the first time. The only thing I could do was just stay on and try to stay on.
Did it sort of go better from that day forward, or did you stay in a sort of a drawn out phase of getting to know how to control this horse?
Yeah, well, it was pretty hard the first year, and then especially because he was so afraid. He was afraid of like anything that would be around him, and also other horses he was afraid of. So, well, the first couple of shows were kind of a disaster, I guess. The only thing I did was just turn around, and then before I entered at A, then I turned around about 6 times, then I had to halt at X and salute, and then I had to proceed forward, but then I turned around a couple more times, and then at C I had to go left or right, and then I had to do all the rest of the test. So in the beginning, I think I started off with scores like 40% or something. It was like really, really bad. But then, yeah, it took me a year. I took him to a show every weekend just to get him to get used to everything around him, and then in between we worked on getting more and more control, and then yeah, well, it's getting better.
And how old was he then, Adelinde?
He was 5 years old, so that would have been 7 years ago, so I would have been 22. 23, sorry.
And so you got off to a very interesting start, but you obviously persevered because you've brought him through the ranks. You really caught the attention of the selectors here now, and I know many of our listeners will remember that you made it to the World Cup finals earlier this year, only to be struck with some bad luck. Tell us how that went.
Yeah, actually, during the qualifiers, I won 3 in a row in Stockholm, in London, and in Mechelen. And then in Amsterdam, he kind of spooked and turned around again, which is like his old trick. And then in Den Bosch, we ended up second, which is really good. And then, well, I figured I was coming to Las Vegas and really do my best there. But then I guess in the airplane already, he sort of, I don't know what happened, but like his check ligament got injured. So we were in Las Vegas and we weren't able to ride. So, yeah, too bad.
Yeah, major disappointment for you. That must have been really worried about the long-term effect that injury was going to have on him, Adelinde.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Because in the beginning, well, of course, we scanned him, and then they figured it was the tendons. So I figured, oh, yeah, that's going to take forever. But then I came back home, and then Jan Greven, my veterinarian, he said, well, it's just a check ligament, which also needs, of course, rest. But then it's not going to take that long. So, yeah, and then I tried to focus on the European Championships, see if I could make that. And then, well, of course, I couldn't ride all the tryouts here. But I had to ride in Hickstad, and I had to show that I was in shape again, and I did. So then I could make the team for the European Championships just in time.
So who do you train with, Adelinde, and what's a typical week for you?
I actually train with Chef Janssen, but he's on the other side of Holland, so that will be like a 2.5-hour drive up there. So I only go there like once every 2 weeks, but then I stay 2 days. And for the rest, I train just by myself. And actually in the mornings, I train horses up till 2 o'clock, I think, from 7:30 till 2. And then from 2 till, I don't know, well, I just came home, so I teach riding lessons.
So the other horses that you ride up until 2 o'clock, are those your horses, or are they other people's horses that you train for them?
Other people's horses, actually. And they're actually a lot younger. They're like 7 and 8 year olds. They're doing pretty good, but they still have some things to learn, of course.
So you don't have any of your own horses, younger horses of your own, coming up to follow along behind Parzival?
I do have 2 by Jazz, but they're only 4 and 5 year olds. So that's going to take a little longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's nice to have those coming along behind you, but you've got such tremendous prospects here now with Parzival. Tell us a little bit about him. I mean, coming into the European Championships, that's a big deal, Adelinde, for any rider to be competing at a regional championships where, against the best in Europe. How was your preparation and your state of mind? Do you get nervous when you get into a big competition like this?
No, I never get nervous, which is actually, I think, one of my strongest points. Because, the only thing I do is, I train really hard and I try to have the best preparation. Because if you are well prepared, I think that's half the deal. And then, I just have to do my best. That's the only thing I can do, right? And I know what Parzival can do. I know he's really good. The other thing that I really have to work on is get him to stay concentrated on me and focus on me all the time and not on all the other exciting things around him. And if that's going to work, I know the exercises are no problem whatsoever, like Piaffe and Dressage. Well, they say they are the hardest exercises, but I think for Parzival, they're one of the easiest exercises.
Well, you must obviously have ironed out all the wrinkles with him. You told us about how interesting a start you got in your partnership with him and your first dressage tests. What kind of partnership do you have now, in the sense of, does he have any little quirks that you have to deal with in competition that he doesn't show at home these days now? And what does he like to prepare once you get to the show?
In competition, he's perfect. He's like during the day in his stables, he's just sleeping all day. And then whenever I come and ride him, then during warm-up and all that, he's okay. He's not like a little bit problem. And then once you get into the ring, once you have to really show off, he's just going to get even better and better and better. So, yeah, he's really doing his best during shows.
What kind of personality does he have? If he was a film star, who would you compare him to?
Oh, my God. I don't know. He's just very, very intelligent. I think he's like sort of Einstein or something. He's very intelligent.
So he's a little serious then, or would he have a sense of humor, or was he more serious?
I don't know. He can be funny. He can be quite funny, but he definitely knows what he wants. And, he has his huge manual of all things you have to know before you can even get on, like tacking up and all that. It's like, yeah, well, it's not the funniest thing to do, but once you get on, he's really good. And,
so he has his little characteristics then that he makes.
Definitely. It took me 5 years to get him to eat an apple, and only up till last year he eats carrots. Like, what horse does not eat carrots? It's like, and Sugarland, he just snores at it and just runs away. It's like really bad.
That's funny. So
Very particular horse.
I know, he is. But I guess that's what makes him really a challenge, right?
Yeah,
that's right. Let's make him special.
Makes him a champion. And so what would his reward be after getting a score of 87 at a European Championship? What sort of treat would he look for?
His reward?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he had a week of vacation. That's it.
That was it, was it?
That was it.
No.
And now we're getting... Actually, he didn't even like that. He just likes to work. It's like whenever he doesn't have to do that much, he's just getting too much energy. So then I start working him again.
Is he a horse that you can turn out in a paddock, Adelinde?
Normally I do up till April. He was just walking outside, but then, well, he got injured, and then I didn't dare to get him into the field right before the European Championship. So from April up to now, he hasn't been outside, but before that, yeah, every day.
So when you got to the Europeans last month with him, and you'd done your Grand Prix, so you got a sense of how he was feeling. Did you think you were going to get scores up in the high 80s?
No, actually, before I start, I never think about scores. I just think about, like, the things I have to do for riding. Like, I never think about percentages or placings or whatever. I just focus on my riding, and that's it. And so, yeah, lots of people ask me if I expected this, but, well, I don't know, because I never go into a show with this sort of expectations.
So when you came to your final halt then at the end of that Kur, Adelinde, and you dropped the reins and you gave him a pat, what was going through his mind and your minds? What was your conversation with him when you left the ring?
Well, after the freestyle, well, I was pretty happy, but then, well, the first half of my freestyle I was really happy with, but then the second half, well, I was a little bit of heavy music, so I had to, like, slow him down all the time, so I wasn't really satisfied with that. So I know, well, there would be somebody who was going to do better, and of course I knew Edward could do a lot better. So, yeah, I was satisfied with him, but then I knew there were some things that, I still have to work on.
So what do you think he said to you as you were riding him out? Well,
actually, he was just, I don't know, I think he wasn't even paying attention to me anymore. Just whenever I go out of the arena, it's just all the audience and everything around him that he's really focused on. Not me anymore.
Well, of course, you coming into the winter here now, and the World Cup qualifiers ahead of us. Are you going to be looking at World Cup qualifiers this year of the winter, Adelinde?
Yeah. I'm going to ride Stockholm, London, Mechelen again, and then Amsterdam. And I hope, of course, that I can qualify for the finals again. And then I hope I can really ride the finals. That would be nice.
to ride it the way you want to.
That's right.
Well, that's a very exciting prospect, Heather. It must be envied when you have, for any dressage rider, to have a horse of this caliber.
Well, I'm so excited for her, and envious, of course. We all would be of that kind of performance and that kind of partnership, but just something more to aspire to. We'll just leave it in that category.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to seeing you over here in Kentucky for the World Equestrian Games. We have fingers and toes crossed that all your training will go according to plan and your competition schedule, and you'll find yourself on the team for the World Equestrian Games, Adelinde.
Well, I hope I can make it to the team, and I'll do my best, and we'll see.
Well, we're very much looking forward to it, and we wish you all the very best of luck, and thank you so much for spending time with us today, Adelinde. Good luck with Parsifal.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Well, Well, what a wonderful story, Heather. Just a delight, and wonderful to have new talent coming up with such marvelous prospects for not just for the country, but for the world.
Yeah, what a strong pair they are, and future that they have, the two of them, and everything else she's got to ride ahead of her, too. So it's wonderful to hear from Adelinde.
All right, well, we're going to take a short break here for a commercial, and then when we come back, we're going to hear Heather's training tip of the week.
Well, if you're a regular listener to the show, you know we talk a lot about Kentucky Performance Products, and that's because they are a name you can trust to give you the most value for your supplement money. Kentucky Performance Products offers supplements designed to target specific problems and are made with high-quality ingredients included at effective levels. The company's supplements are intended to complement, not compete, with your dressage horse's current feeding program, guarding against over-supplementation, and each product is backed by sound research and the money-back satisfaction guarantee. And today we'd like to talk to you about Nalox, the original equine antacid. It's recommended by veterinarians and leading horsemen as a way of maintaining a healthy stomach, which reduces the risk of ulcers. Nalox can be given daily to horses exposed to stressful conditions or as needed when shipping, competing, or during stall confinement. You can learn about Nalox and all the products at Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com. That's Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com.
All right, Heather, it's your turn. You're up with your training tip. What have you got for us this week?
Well, I have something that sort of came up again quite often in the last clinic tour that I did in the U.S. And it had a lot to do with riders that don't give the reins away enough, or lighten the hand enough and release the rein enough. And I think one of the things that I try to test to see with riders who I can't quite get to have, a loose enough rein, or the too tight and too heavy in the hand, is to have the rider try to test to see if just the fact that they give the rein, is that a signal to the horse that it means for them to go faster or for them to accelerate at all. And I think many times they find out that it does, even though in some cases it's very subtle, some cases it's less subtle. It can be a real problem, and it can be the reason that riders really end up not giving enough. And, when you want your horse to be more round, you're looking for them to be softer and more through, more round. They have to have a moment of give in the rein for them to become more round. And I think another kind of mistake is that riders think that the horse will get round in the moment that they take the rein. I think it's a lot more effective to get across to riders that the horses give more roundness in the frame, more throughness in the frame in the moment that you give. So therefore, you've got to learn how to give the rein quite often. And I mean, there could be lots of reasons that riders don't give, and a very common one is riders that have a balance that relies too much on their hold on the rein, and their own body isn't in enough self-carriage. And when they give the rein, then they have to basically change their own balance in order to do it. And then when they have the rein, their balance changes again to kind of buy into the fact that they've got a hold on the rein. But this idea that a lot of horses think as soon as you give the rein, it is more or less the signal to go faster is it's just a real interesting one. So I think a good way to test it is to take a transition, let's say, from trot pretty promptly into halt. And once your horse establishes the halt, just give the rein completely away. And I would say 8 times out of 10, the horse will take a next step until or before the rider actually says that from the leg that the horse should take the step. And I think even if they're, sort of not that significant, but they are stepping, I think it is significant. And the horse shouldn't make the decision to start moving more forward or accelerating simply because the horse or the rider opened the hand and gave the rein. And I think with repetition of trying this exercise, trot, halt, and then give the rein, if the horse takes a step before they're asked to, you should simply stop the horse again and give the rein until they learn to stay in the halt when you give the rein. And I think when that can be accomplished, or when the horse understands that, it's much easier then to give the rein also, say after a normal half halt, which you might be riding around 10, 15 half halts in one 20-meter circle. So if after every half halt you have a moment of lightness and giving in the rein, you could just be encouraging that much more throughness, that much more softness and self-carriage, which is what we're all looking for after a half halt. So it sounds kind of simple, but when you kind of peel some layers off the onion and you look at what's, kind of underlying why half halts don't come, quote, through, I think this is one of the reasons that, like I said, about 8 times out of 10, if I tell my students to try it, it's not, or it is the case that horses are thinking lack of reins is a signal to go. So kind of interesting, and I think it makes a big difference to the horses and to the riders, and fairly quickly with some repetition, it really makes a big difference in their half halts. So that's kind of what I thought was important to use today as a training tip.
Very good, Heather. Yeah, I agree. It's all about the sensitivity of what you're feeling in the hand and your independence of your seat too, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and if the seat's not very independent, then that can be a big reason for having a hand that gets too strong, which would eventually, cause stiffness or resistance in the horse also. So there has to be an independence between the rider's body and what's happening in their hand. I mean, that's got to be a baseline skill to accomplish first. So you can give the reins, more or less whenever you want to. Not just when the horse says it's okay, but whenever you want to give the rein, you should be able to.
Yeah, so the message here is don't use the reins to balance yourself. Develop an independent seat.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, thank you, Heather, for that. Well, that about wraps it up for this week's show. You can follow our show notes at dressageradio.com and send us your feedback. Always want to hear from you. You can leave a voicemail at 270-803-0025. And, of course, you know how to reach me, Chris at horseradionetwork.com. Don't forget we have a Facebook fan page, too, which is also increasingly popular. And if you subscribe to that fan page, you'll get to know when the shows are posted. So take a look at that if you're on Facebook. And you can always follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. We're having more and more fun with that. And you can follow Heather and her clinics and her plans on her website at heatherblitz.info. We would like to thank our sponsors, Equestrian Life and Kentucky Performance Products. They can be found at kppusa.com and Equestrian Life, of course, at equestrianlife.com. They are our official social network of the Horse Radio Network. Well, Heather, this is coming to the end of a show for you and the end of your stint as a guest host on the co-host on the Dressage Radio Show, and I know you're moving on to bigger plans now and busy times, and we just want to say how much we've enjoyed having you on the show. It's been so much fun, and your weekly tips and Paragon's diary, and we're still going to be following. We're not going to let you go completely because we're going to be following what you're doing.
Well, thanks so much, Chris, and it's been a really great experience, and I do hope that I can pop back in every now and then and say hi or add a bit if I can. But it is going to be quite a busy time for me coming up, and whether I would have my head together enough to do the show or not, probably not. So, but I wish you all the best, and like I said, I'll definitely pop back in every now and then if you'll still have me.
Oh, you bet we will. We'll keep bugging you from time to time, but we will be following you for interest, and you're always welcome to come on the show whenever you can, Heather. But thanks again from all of us here at the Horse Radio Network to Heather for her input these past few weeks since we got the show launched. It's been a great pleasure having you on board on the team, and we wish you the very best of luck with your move back to the States here. It'll be great to have you over here, and I can't wait to meet Paragon in person.
Yes, I can't wait for him to meet you in person.
All right, well, that about wraps it up for this week, everybody.
Yeah, everybody, thanks a lot and take care. Thanks for listening and mind your riding.